Welcome to the Beauty Bubble, everyone. This is my salon and museum of hair and beauty in downtown Joshua Tree, California. I've been collecting these things for 30 years. I was a history lover that became a hairdresser when I was a teenager. So I've been doing it since 1991, doing hair and collecting the whole time. Now they call me America's Hairstorian. If you take a look around, you'll see there's stuff in every nook and cranny here in the shop. So it's become a bit of a roadside attraction. Her name is Rose.
Is she here for a hair appointment?
Rose just recently got a makeover. She's wearing this 80s hairdresser dress, but no, she's working out on the vibrator belt. That mid-century fitness, all you had to do was a jiggle and then go and sit in a personal sauna and sweat for a little bit. That's all you had to do.
That does not sound like a big workout to me.
I call this room the Luster Cream Lounge because this is where a lot of the Luster Cream shampoo ads are. The Luster Cream shampoo was a popular shampoo in the 40s and 50s, and most of the big celebrities of the day did the advertisements. So that's where that name comes from. And then there's a lot of hair and beauty related dolls and toys and novelty items in this room. It started out as like buying old hair dryers and products, and then it kind of turned into buying anything that was hair and beauty related, including like the Hair Bear Bunch lunchbox.
Cool. So what was the first item you ever collected?
The first piece in the collection is this hair dryer here on the rotating platform. I have it marked, the first piece in the collection. This is a 1940s LeJohn hair dryer, and that was a gift from my friend Pamela when I started beauty school in 1991. Her and I were thrift shop buddies, so she knew what I liked and she bought me that hair dryer, and that's what started the whole thing. So I've just been collecting ever since. This is a Duart perm machine from the 1930s. So this is what you would have used to process the early perms of the 20th century. Those little clamps actually just heated up, and that's what would process the chemical. So the cold wave was invented in the 1950s, and so that's when Tony introduced the first home perm. And that changed the beauty business because it didn't require the use of the cumbersome machines anymore. So these were used like late 1890s is when the very first perm machine was invented, and cow urine was used in the original perm solutions.
Is that why they have the test curl button back there?
Yeah.
Just in case.
And then these were very expensive too. It was like $1 a curl, you know. So for back in the day, that was real expensive. They were very time consuming.
And how many curls can you get out of that machine there?
There's probably about 100 clamps on there. Maybe 50 clamps on there.
Wow. A $50 perm right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then here's some of the perms from the 80s. Of course, we know that the perms were really popular in the 80s. They've yet to make a comeback quite as big as they were in the 80s.
Do you think that will ever happen, or is it just too much?
It could. I won't be doing them though. I do not like doing perms. I tell people I'm allergic, in fact.
So tell me a little bit about the hair dryers and things you have.
These
things, yeah.
These are hair dryers from the 1960s. Still work. We use these more so to process hair color now more than a roller set, but we do get the occasional request for a roller set. This is an interesting contraption. I love this. This thing is called the Pin Whiz, and this is a bobby pin stapler from the 1940s. So you'd fill this with bobby pins, and then it's got a little trigger. You pull back the trigger, and then you push out a bobby pin into your pin curl, and hopefully not into your head.
I mean, what about all the pictures and things you got up here? There's like...
Yeah, everything's hair and beauty related. So there are records, there's old products, there are lots of hairnet packages. I love the graphics and the images on the old packaging. You know, things were a lot more interesting back in the day. But like an interesting fact about a lot of the hairnets is they were made from human hair. A lot of them were handmade. In fact, it's handmade from human hair. So somebody probably made like 10 cents an hour weaving hairnets from human hair. Can you imagine? That would not be a job I'd like to do. But here's one of my sculptures. So I actually made a series of hairdo sculptures. I call these the Hairstorical Gals. This is the Mohawk. They are hairdos that are made out of hair things. So for years and years, people have been donating their old rollers and clips and combs and barrettes and you name it. They've been donating that stuff to my collection, and I call it beauty waste. So for years, I've just been accumulating all these things, and I finally decided to pull it all out. I dumped it in the middle of the room, And I had a mountain of plastic and metal stuff, beauty waste. So my first instinct was to separate it all by color. And I ultimately came up with 8 hairdo sculptures, and 6 of them are currently on display in the San Francisco airport.
So approximately how many items do you have in your collection?
There's approximately 3,000 pieces, and probably even more at this point. You know, there are pieces that are in the SFO exhibit, so everything's not even here at this point. There's so many hair dryers. I probably have the world's largest collection of hair dryers at this point. I've filled every nook and cranny of this space. This was an apartment that was built in the 40s. So this is an apartment complex built in the 40s. My favorite thing in here is the nude Marilyn. I don't know if you can show that, but there's the classic nude Marilyn Monroe photograph. A lot of barbershop stuff in here. The shaving brushes,
The
Old Spice stuff. Here's an old bottle of multivitamins. Masculine hair groom. You know, it was just something that I was 19 years old. I loved history, and I ended up in beauty school just kind of on a whim because I qualified for grants that paid for the entire education. So when I was a kid, I thought I'd be an archaeologist, but instead I'm a Hairstorian. Now they call me America's Hairstorian. As far as I was concerned, it was a fascinating history that was being discarded because all of this stuff is really stuff that would have just been thrown out. And so when I started collecting in 1991, the internet didn't exist, so you couldn't Google a beauty museum. I had just never heard of one. So, and I was then 20 thinking, oh, I'm gonna build a beauty museum. And so here I am living that dream. Roadside Attraction Beauty Parlor Museum on Route 62 here in Joshua Tree, California.
So what do you think is the most fun part of this this little museum / salon?
I think it's the nostalgia, and then everybody who comes in here says, oh, it reminds me of my grandmother, or this reminds me of my mother. Everybody's got a memory attached to something in here, it seems like. And people are just getting the biggest kick out of it. It's a cultural history. I feel like everybody can relate to the things in here because everybody's had hair or has hair. Everybody's been to a salon or barbershop, or remember these things from their grandmother's bathroom.
I mean, do you think that, say, a barbershop or a salon is something that gets overlooked in the whole kind of like preservation?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's only a couple other collectors that I know of who are collecting stuff like that. I probably have the largest collection of this kind now, and that's been documented quite a bit. But yeah, this was just stuff that got thrown out. I mean, if you got a new hairdryer, you'd throw out the old one, or if you didn't use all of a shampoo, you'd pitch it. Or if like grandma passed away and you went to clean out her bathroom, more than likely all that stuff would just get thrown out. So it was things that I was saving from the landfills, if you will. Come on down to the beauty bubble, you must get there on the double. If you're having beauty trouble, come to the beauty bubble. Look for the bubbles on 62, there's a museum and a gift shop too. Come on in or give us a call, 366-9000.